Okay, we're back live here on WILI. Let's go Red Sox. We're a few minutes behind today for coverage of the game, but we're happy to be with you here live on AM 1400 and 95.3 on the FM. We're also on YouTube, so we're happy to have you with us here in the studio each week for On the Homefront. My name is John Murphy. We have 3 segments today. We have an artist in residence at the Packing House Museum in Wellington to talk about a new exhibit and her work with playwrights and a workshop coming up. We're going to focus a lot today on the Downtown Country Fair coming up here in Willimantic on Saturday, September 30th. It's at Gilson Square from 11 a.m. to 4 all day. And the artist was with me now. June Bisantz is performing that day a little after 12 noon. And we have 2 people who are helping to organize the event with us for the second segment with Donna, Nicolino, and Ian Harrington involving with the Wyndham Food Co-op. So a busy show today. We're glad to have you with us. First of all, June Bisantz, I'm so happy to have you back in the house.
Good to see you, John.
It's been
a while.
Yes, it has, and it's really a good occasion to have you here. Over the summer, June sent me this wonderful new release. It's a project that's been 50 years in the works, and she'll tell you why. But it's a wonderful collection of her work with Gordon Morell. It's called It's Been a Long, Long Time. And it has wonderful arrangements of songs that you probably know the melodies. You may not know the title, but you know the melodies. They've rearranged them and reinvented them. So congratulations on coming up with another variation.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun to do. These are tunes. Gordon Morell and I began working together over 50 years ago.
That's right.
We were an acoustic duo in California, in Santa Barbara, California. And these tunes on It's Been a Long, Long Time are from our original playlist. And that's how we selected them, our favorites.
Right. And, you know, one of the things that June has done for so many years, and it's really been nice to talk to her, is she's looked at some classic American song forms and either preserves them and added some kind of variety and to keep the form of the song. And with this record, they're experimenting and kind of being more playful. But her work with the music of Chet Baker was really phenomenal. And I have to thank you again for those 2 volumes, looking at the songbook, saying these are eternal songs.
They're wonderful songs. Those writers are just, they're iconic, wonderful writers. And they're really for singers, you know.
Right.
Every singer loves those tunes.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to sing them?
Right. So how did you put this, you know, after all these years, you said, well, we have to pick the songs. We have so many you could pick. So how did it all take shape?
Well, you know, as was typical with Gordon and I, we argued over the phone. You know,
West Coast, East Coast.
West
right?
Coast, East Coast.
Okay.
He lives on the West Coast, and you know, he always wants to do Beatles tunes. You know.
Oh yeah.
And I do love the Beatles, me and everybody else.
Some
of course,
timeless.
I love the Beatles, but I did not want to have the burden of reinventing Beatles tunes because too many people have done it and done it brilliantly. So we had our share of. It's typical of us, you know. We were a duo that just, you know, argued a lot, and then had a lot of fun too. You know, I mean,
of course.
And our relationship hasn't changed. You know, he still gets on my nerves. I still got on his nerves, and so we argued our way through the playlist and found these.
That's called chemistry, June. Chemistry.
Chemistry. Yes. We have great chemistry, is what I meant to say.
Yeah. So you had a good reception.
Very good.
This came out earlier in the summertime, and it's gotten on charts that relate to jazz and kind of Americana roots, which is really neat. Tell me about
crossed over, definitely.
About the crossover. Go ahead.
It's the songs actually. Some of them can be done in any way at all, but we do some straight out kind of country jug band stuff, like we did Any Old Time, which is the old Jimmy Rogers tune that Maria Muldaur made really famous in more recent years. And we end with Happy Trails, which is a Dale Evans song, and we always ended our shows with Happy Trails too.
Well, you know, that really dates us. So that's the Roy Rogers trigger kind of thing.
Yes, it is.
I mean, how many people have their horses stuffed in the house? I mean, wow. That's what I call disposable income, buddy.
Well, the thing about that song, and I'm not sure if this is a true story, but this is what I've heard, is that Roy Rogers and Dale Evans had a child that was very ill and passed away as a child. And Happy Trails was a song written for that child. And when you think of the song in that context, you realize how very, very beautiful it is, how loving and
For the little boy to have his friend in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a dog, but a little big dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's sweet. But what's nice is the crossover, introducing songs to audiences that might not normally find them. So what's the response been now in terms of your feedback from the media, player?
Well, we've gotten some good reviews on this, and actually, to be honest, I was a little surprised because my work so far has been jazz, either original jazz or standard jazz.
Right.
And I wondered if this would be poorly received. But it turns out people actually didn't really notice the difference. It's just more music. It's just it's still classic music, and the reception has been terrific. And I get a lot of communication from other musicians that hear it, and it's been great. It's built a little community.
15 weeks on the Jazz Week charts for radio is very good to get on those charts. It means a lot of stations like it and they're giving people exposure. You get the results.
Yep.
And there was also, they won a special award for the Global Music Awards, which is another way to connect to a whole community that are looking for different things anyway.
That's right. Well, the Global Music Awards focus a lot on classical music. Mm-hmm. They have a very high standard for production, so it's very, very flattering to win that. We won it in the Americana category.
Right.
We're really pleased.
So if you're listening to us on the radio right now, we're sharing some time with June Bisantz, and she's going to be in the area on September 30th as part of the Downtown Country Fair, which is in Jolson Square. It's going to be nice to be up on the Shaboo stage.
It is. I'm excited. I have never played on that stage,
wow.
And I am very excited to do that.
It's so sweet. Thank you, David Foster, again for giving us that stage.
and to play in my hometown is great. There's not that much opportunity for my music, and so I'm thrilled.
Every year or two we get you here. She'll be here with her group at 12:20. And how long have they given you for the program?
I think that we have 45 or 50 minutes.
Oh, that's lovely.
So we
really
have a nice show style set.
September 30th outside. So the website, I'm going to ask June about the website, because one thing that I like to do whenever I have a musician in the house, and we have, I think, 5 minutes left, is how they're using the web. And if you go to the website, music.junebisantz.com, Bisantz, you'll find all of her music there, including this new release. So how has it been for you to begin to get more involved with the web? And what's it been like on the other side?
Well, I think a lot of artists have defaulted to Facebook, Instagram, and social media. I do have those accounts. Mm-hmm. I am not much of a social media person. Mm-hmm. So I put everything on my website. And you can find everything about my art career, about my music career. Everything is there. I do my own website, and but if anybody out there wants to do it, please call me.
It takes a lot of time.
It does. It takes a lot of time, but it all does. So if you do social media, that takes a lot of time. If you do a website, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I like the freedom to design it the way I want, and to keep it fresh and keep the news on the homepage.
Yeah. And what I hear from artists is, even though it's very difficult and it's a challenge for their time, working on this stuff versus writing or composing, that's always a time issue, is if they get it right, they do get feedback. There is a response.
Yeah, people find you, they sign your mailing list, and they will find you.
Yeah. So let's hear some music now. We're talking about this music. We have some more to talk about with June, but let's have a little taste. The CD is called It's Been a Long, Long Time. And we're going to hear the track. This one that we're going to hear right now is track, actually it's the title track. Enjoy. Great. Yeah. So then we'll come back. I want to ask about streaming. Do you want to talk about the new release? It's in the works?
Yeah, we can talk about that, sure.
New release. And do you think in the spring or so there might be some other things happening here in the area? Some of the venues are already planning ahead for winter.
They're probably already booked for the winter. I have been away almost all summer, and I have not taken care of booking business.
Yes. Now I've seen some of your posts. A few here and there.
My husband was out in Oklahoma for business, and I went out there too. And so I came back and started teaching, and I realized, I've missed a booking cycle. In fact, I canceled a few gigs before I went out. So I hope to be back at the side door, or I get back in that rotation. And
what I'm doing every 4 to 6 weeks, I've got Chris Beaudry from Side Door. I've got Chris Paquette from the Stomping Ground. I've got Tom Buccino from the Packing House, and they're regular promoting. There's a place you may know about, the Luce Center for the Arts at Woodstock Academy. It's hidden away. It's a beautiful theater with high-end audio at the school, and they're bringing in shows now to build an audience. I'm going to have the guy on in a couple of weeks. So they've been doing different shows. So far, how close are we?
1 minute.
1 minute? Good. It's the radar. But they've been doing shows. So there are venues, and when people are ready to play, we're trying to help them with advanced planning to kind of over here 1 month, over there the next. Because they're all within an hour.
Yeah.
But people will come out at different times.
They will. I've played the Packing House and the Side Door, of course.
Right.
But and I've got to get back on the case and get in touch with these people.
Well, definitely, and whatever you do, we'll promote it. The one venue I have totally failed with is this place in Norwich called. The guy's just not interested in teaming up. It's
Strange Brew?
Strange Brew.
Yeah. 10 seconds.
Has not been interested. Okay.
Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, so that's one little taste for you. June Bisantz and Gordon Morell, the title track from It's Been a Long, Long Time. One thing I want to ask June while she's with us is streaming, because so many fans look at streaming as convenient, it's free, you get all this music available to you. Once you express the things that you like, they send you a lot of suggested music that you may not know. And it's great for consumers because it's all free. But what's coming out to the public is a really dark side of artists really not doing very well. They're not getting paid. They're not making a living. So I always ask performers here how the web is treating them. So how is the pro and the cons, and how does it seem to you when this new environment is really not working yet for artists?
Well, in my opinion, it went from bad to worse. So what's worse, the thing that bothers me the most is and I do understand why users use Alexa, Play, whatever, Spotify, all of these streaming services that put together a playlist for you and you ask for certain artists. But the issue there is that you're not buying the music. Even if you're paying for the service, think about what you're paying and how that has to filter down to all the music you're listening to. How much money can possibly filter down to any one artist? It's an impossible thing. So I understand the ease of use. I don't use any streaming services. My music is on all the streaming services, but I don't use them. If I want to hear something, I buy it.
Okay.
Whether I buy it digitally or physically, I buy it. And I would urge people to consider building their collections again, because you don't have it. Spotify has it.
Yeah.
Amazon has it. You don't have the music the way we used to have collections of music. So
it's really changed, and people have been trained since maybe the last 20 years that it's okay, it's all for free. And it's really impacted the industry in a huge way. Artists are not making it. They're in court trying to figure out new formulas, but unless you're a mega star making millions and millions of streams, there's not much coming in. And some people joke about it as a way to cope. They'll make jokes out of, oh, here's my royalty check for the month, $4.80.
I know, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Because I do remember the days when your royalty check for original music was substantial, and it made a difference in your life. Yeah.
So there is some other good news to share with you before we go, is that she's working now on a new collection for next year. It's kind of a look at the past, but it's reinventing some songs from before in a new context. So it's a nice way to renew things. So maybe give us a little teaser.
Well, many years ago, at the height of my involvement with jazz, I was married to a jazz musician, and we were musical partners. And we created quite a bit of original music together. We lived and worked in New York and toured from there. And time went on, and he has recently passed away. And I want to rework some of the best of the tunes that we wrote together, because we did write some. And it was a much simpler time in music also. When you had a hit, you knew you had a hit. In jazz, in
New York, good feedback.
There was good, very big feedback. Commercial stations played jazz. It was not relegated to public radio and college stations then. So it was a very exciting time, and we wrote some beautiful music. And as a way of kind of saying thank you to him for his wonderful talent and the great partnership that we enjoyed, I want to rearrange some of those songs and re-release them.
Well, we'll look forward to having you back to share that. That's a really beautiful way to go in the studio and kind of recreate life again. That's really sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. So once again, in case you've joined us, we've been speaking with June Bisantz. She's going to be at the Downtown Country Fair here in Willie Saturday, September 30th. She'll be performing at 12:20 approximately. The fair goes from 11 to 4 all day at Gilson Square, and she'll be on the Shaboo stage. So I wish you good weather and a great time. I'll be there that day. I wish you a great day.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you so much, John.
Okay, so we're going to take a break now and hear one more song from this CD and come back with people involved with the Country Fair and the Willimantic Co-op to give some more good news about this great annual celebration. And then we'll talk to Sarah Moon about her. She has an upcoming workshop for playwrights. And she has an excellent workshop at the Packing House in Wellington. So stay with us. Here's one more tune, a beautiful song. I know you know this one, but they're going to surprise you with the arrangement. Will You Love Me Tomorrow? Enjoy. Okay, we're back live on the home front here. John Murphy, very happy to be here with you, whether it's on the radio at WILI or on YouTube. WILI has special local talk shows from 5 to 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday, and they're all on the YouTube channel for the radio station. Each program like ours has its own playlist. It's great to have you on the radio live. It's fun, but this way we capture a story, and it's on YouTube 24/7 on your phone, so the information can always get out about these events, because we're covering the Downtown Country Fair today. It's coming up Saturday, September 30th at Gilson Square in town from 11 to 4, and we have the MC and the stage manager for the whole day right here in the house. So first of all, thank you for all the good work you're doing behind the scenes to make this day a lot of fun for everybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So we have Donna Nicolino with us. I've had Donna on the radio before over the years. It's really nice to have you back in the house.
Thank you. Nice
You
to be
are
here.
the stage manager. And also we have Ian Harrington, who's the MC. So maybe what we can do to use our time well is maybe give us an idea of how you're going to use the day. Then we'll get into other aspects of the fair, because it's a very big event. It's been going on for how many years now? 20?
This is the 24th year.
24 years. So it's a real tradition, and you're keeping it alive after COVID. People are all bouncing back.
Yes.
So what are your hopes for the day?
Well, I'll say I just hope, and I know, because I've been to the fair many, many times.
Indeed.
It's always a lovely day. You see so many people that you know. The music is wonderful. There's food vendors. There's lots of activities for kids. We're just hoping for good weather, and I think everything else will just come together.
Yeah.
You mentioned keeping it going after COVID. I think that's the real important piece, that we have these other opportunities. We've had several over the course of the summer to bring our community together, right? This is our only hope at healing. And, and just moving to that next level and to know that we're still there for each other. We're still here to enjoy each other. And our lovely diverse community comes together over this as well.
Absolutely.
Now, Ian's been an MC for other events and other celebrations. What have the crowds been like? Like when you're working a crowd, it's a different thing than being in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So how does it work, and what's the response been?
What's the response? I get a pretty good response, right? Folks like my kind of stumble over myself style.
Yeah.
And I think what I was told recently was that my authenticity really sort of carries whatever performance, and so I'm privileged to hear that.
Sure.
I think when we can truthfully be ourselves as completely as possible, that allows for belonging to happen. So that's really what I try to achieve when I'm emceeing, is just make sure that everyone there feels like they belong.
Yeah. Well, what I was leading to was the turnout at these events when people work so hard to have these gatherings.
Sure.
Have they all enjoyed good turnouts, or people kind of getting more social about things today? Do you notice that?
So I actually did. I've been to a couple events there over the summer, and the turnout's fantastic, right? From amazing vendors. Maria de Los Angeles is going to be returning to Gilson, so that's Shaboo stage.
Right.
Okay. I've been here long enough to have to break that habit. But then also, I think the crowds have been fantastic.
Good.
You know, love seeing so many people out
Yeah.
and dancing and just enjoying each other's company in the beautiful weather. But the last event that I emceed wasn't actually at Shibu Stage. It was at EastCon. It was a transportation hackathon that occurred just this past weekend. I don't know if you want to talk
Out
about
on Route
that.
6, huh?
Out on Route 6, way down Route 6 in Hampton.
That's right, out near the Bates Motel. That's it. That's all due respect to Norman Bates, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, it's Halloween coming up, you know.
That's right.
Well, Donna, you know, you and I go back to when the fair was at the co-op itself.
That's right.
Outside the parking lot, the
That's
whole
right.
thing, and the big patio thing going on.
I remember the very first one.
So how are the hardcore veterans at the co-op feeling after all these years? They have the building across the street,
Yeah.
big plans, COVID kind of interrupted things.
Yes.
What's the big picture like these days? Can you share anything about how that vision is moving?
In terms of the food co-op itself? Or,
Any kind of news to share?
Yeah. Well, everybody is really excited to, to have the fair going again. This is not the first time since COVID, although last year was the first time that we ever canceled because of weather, which was tough. So everybody's really excited to just have it happening again. And the co-op is doing great. I don't want to speak to, I'm a food co-op member. I'm not like on the board or an employee, so I don't want to, get over my skis about what the plans are and everything.
Sure.
The co-op is doing wonderful and always new members. And I know that there's a fund recently that started in honor of Alice Rubin, who's a long-term, long-term from the beginning, co-op manager. Who's going to be retiring, and so there's a fund that's being started has been started to raise money to just give free co-op memberships to people in the community. So it's called the Go Ask Alice Solidarity Fund, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So that's like a cool new thing that's happening.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're handing out little white rabbit souvenirs and that kind of thing. If you
Right.
pledge, you get a little white rabbit. That's
Right,
cool.
I
right.
think she'll know.
Yes, exactly.
So look, you should go to the website because I went there today, and there's a lot of information at the co-op. There's newsletters you can get.
Yes.
There's a lot of information about this cooperative economic model that we have, and we're one of the only food co-ops in the state now. I guess they're
One of the few.
One of the few.
Yeah, there's one in New London.
Right? Is that Fiddles?
Fiddleheads.
Fiddleheads.
Fiddleheads is down there.
Yes.
There
Maybe
just last
Norwalk might have one down that way, I think, somewhere
Honestly,
in
I'm not
Fairfield.
sure.
But it's a special model. It's been here for a long time.
Yes.
So it's willimanticfood.coop. Willimanticfood.coop. Well, as the stage manager, can you give us a teaser, some of the highlights for the day?
Yeah.
Because it goes from 11 to 4 at
Yep.
the Shibu stage.
Yes. So amongst the many cool things that will be there is some great music.
Of course.
So the fair starts at 11. At 11:15, we will have Nzinga's Daughters, who do traditional folklore songs, spirituals, and stories from the Underground Railroad. They're a vocal group of African American women, and they're awesome. You can find them on YouTube. They do beautiful work. And then at 12:20 will be June Bisantz, Jazz Quartet, and you just spoke with June.
That's right.
Awesome jazz vocalist, so we're
Fantastic.
excited to have her. And then at 1:25 will be Mad Agnes,
Yes.
which is a trio, and they do different kinds of genres, with songwriting, passionate performances.
They're
and
really
like
good. Bruce has had them at the Bread Box.
Okay, yeah.
they're very
Nice
good.
harmonies
Yeah.
and everything. So
Okay.
they will be there. And then wrapping up the show at 2:30 is Bentito, who does African Caribbean music and are a lot of fun and great energy. And so it's going to be an awesome
Arnaldo,
day.
right? Arnaldo?
Yes, Arnaldo
He's
Rivera.
fantastic. They play
Yes.
in town quite often.
Yep.
That's a great way to end the music. They'll be jumping around.
Yes, exactly.
So we have to thank David Foster for this stage. I mean, there it is. We're using it all year long.
Oh, yeah.
Some big shows once in a while, and then everybody gets a chance to play. That's one of the cool things. Are there any changes for this year that you've noticed? Anything different about the setup? Any new vendors or anybody you want to highlight? We have a couple minutes left. Anything special?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great vendors. And do you want to talk a little bit, Ian, about maybe like the kids' activities and some of the vendors who will be there?
It's a family time. It's a family.
Yes,
No,
very much a family time.
Very important for me. I have 3 beautiful children and a wife. I'm hoping they'll all be able to attend the entire time. And only in a community so diverse would they put an MC who's a white guy, a balding white guy, up on the stage and say, let's get some diversity up there. It's really exciting to be that representative here. I'm flattered, frankly. And I think, my work at Access in bringing trauma-informed care forward and creating belonging in our community has sort of set the stage for that invitation. And I just, hope to be that representative and help that language, that energy keep going. I think COVID separated us enough. And,
it sure did.
Yeah, to have these chances to come together really need to be celebrated at the highest level.
I know
we're going to have great kids activities. So if you've got kids, bring the kids. Lots of kids activities.
Don Oswaldo Toronto will be leading a couple of activities at 12 and 2. You don't want to miss out on either of those. He's a friend of mine.
He's going to be Mr.
Decades
Stilts.
ago.
Yes,
Probably.
you'll be doing stilts. We're going to have giant bubbles, a community art project using natural-made loom and nature materials. A sensory table with Play-Doh and oobleck, lots of arts and crafts, and lots of great local food vendors, including some folks from Click, the community licensed cooperative kitchen.
That's right.
Yes. So
we've had Click on the program. There are so many new, small, independent food businesses starting because Click makes it all legal and healthy. That's the whole thing. You got to have it's expensive to have a legal kitchen.
It is.
Surely.
That's the problem.
And that's one of the wonderful things about our community is things like that, and the people who got Click going, so that, folks who know how to cook but maybe don't have the money to, get their kitchen up to, Department of Health code, are able to rent space in the Click kitchen and make food to sell to the public.
It's a commercial kind of license,
Yes.
So this is how they're going to celebrate all these things on the same day. Again, it's Saturday, September 30th, 11 a.m. to 4 at the Shabu stage at Jolson Square. I want to thank Donna Nicolino and Ian Harrington. I wish you good weather and a great turnout. I'll be there, and I wish to see you then, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks for having you here.
All right. Thanks, John.
All righty. So we're going to take a short break here and come back with Sarah Moon. She has a great workshop coming up for writers and playwrights. So you stay with us. We'll be right back. All righty. We're back live for our third segment today on the Homefront. We're very happy to have you with us here on WILI AM FM or on YouTube. For our third segment today, I'm happy to have a return visit with Sarah Moon. She is a playwright, and she's currently the artist in residence at ECCHAP, which is the Eastern Connecticut Center for History, Art, and Performance. And she's arranged for a special event coming up at the end of September. She's also a assistant professor of humanities at Massachusetts Maritime Academy. And at ECCHAP, she's the director of the Diane Bleach House Community Gallery, because that whole building is going through a major restoration process, and they've really done so much work already. It must be fun to have a year to work in a gallery space and then create these artistic programs as well.
Yeah. It's been really cool. I've never worked in a curatorial capacity. I've done some work with artists in the visual arts.
Right.
But this was definitely a new role for me. And I've met some new artists through it. Wyndham-based artists, actually. I was on with Mark Billiker. Right. He did our show back in March. But I've also brought in artists that I knew had prior connections with, who I admire their work, and I had this opportunity to showcase it.
Yeah. So the focus for our conversation really is Saturday, September 30th. It's at the Packing House. We've had folks on from the Packing House, but it's very often about jazz or music events and concerts. But there's a whole growing series of poetry and spoken word things going on there. It's just a few miles north of us on Route 32. So what are your hopes for the day now on that Saturday? What's going to happen?
So we're going to be doing a reading of what I will call a developmental reading of the play that I'm working on as for my residency, which is called Apostates PA. And this is a presentation that is meant to be entertaining, but also to invite feedback from the audience that's going to contribute to my writing process. So this is sort of the first draft that we're showing and inviting people to, bring some constructive criticism, to ask questions for me to find out maybe what is still needed in the script for people to take away what I intend for them to take away. And also to get that sense of are things landing the way I want them to, right? Are people sort of getting what I hope is embedded in the script? So it's it's an exciting moment for a playwright. It's also sort of a anxiety-ridden moment because it's your first go at sharing this with an audience.
Yeah.
But it's really necessary. For me, part of why I love playwriting instead of other types of writing is because it's social and because you're doing it with other people, including your audience, right? So it's the first opportunity for that.
Right. It's like a songwriter workshop where somebody will write a song and they'll get up there and then people will take it apart and help them look at structure, all these things. And this seems to be something that's growing interest. I've noticed here in terms of media coverage, there's more book events, there's more people speaking out, and you must find that as well. People are looking at the word again in creative ways.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are a lot of people who are looking for community around that. They're looking for writers groups and things like that. And when I returned to Connecticut after a few years in Rhode Island, I reached out to a group of playwrights from a course that I taught at Mark Twain House 10 years ago. And we've stayed in touch enough that we actually revived the group, and we've been meeting on a semi-regular basis and are kind of supporting each other developing full-length scripts. So it's good to have that sense of a teammate who's kind of pushing you and getting you to the finish line,
Sure. Sometimes people need that external stimulus.
To
get out of the treadmill, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So let me ask you, as a writer creator, like I would talk to someone who's writing a symphony, how are you using narrative and the storyline to transmit the ideas? And I haven't gone to a reading in a long time. I've done them before, but it's been a long time. It's kind of an improvisational thing too, in a way, because people are responding and you're open to their creative feedback. So how are you looking at narrative this way?
That's a good question. I think this play posed a different challenge than I've encountered before. The past two pieces that I worked on, one was an adaptation of a novel. So the narrative was already there for me, and the job was to break it up into a radio play format. And the other project was a collaboratively written piece for high school students that was a podcast play during the pandemic. So it was for theater companies to be able to still do a production even though schools were meeting remotely.
Oh, incredible.
So that was really fun. So this is sort of a new thing, and the seed of it was a biographical one-act play about a little-known historical figure named Benjamin Lay. He was an 18th century Quaker, little person, abolitionist. He was also vegan, made all his own clothes, and lived in a cave outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Well, he broke the mold.
He really broke the mold.
My word, that's incredible.
Yeah. So he recently, a historian who's based in the D.C. area, I want to say he might be at Johns Hopkins, I might be wrong, but it's Marcus Rediker is his name. Awesome historian, and he wrote a fantastic biography of Lay a few years back. And there was a graphic artist who picked up the story, and he created a graphic novel based on Lay's life. And my husband, who you know, gave me this book for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Hello, Dan. Greetings, Dan.
Shout out to Dan.
You bet.
So he gets a lot of credit here, too. And I responded to it so strongly because I'm a Quaker. I do theater. And he was unique, not only for what I said already, but the way that he spoke out against slavery was through what we might call performance art today. He would do these sort of performance pieces outside of the Quaker meeting houses and even sometimes inside that were very attention getting and were meant to upset and agitate the Quakers in order to get across the message, his belief that slavery was a sin, and he also believed that there was a biblical foundation for that.
Kind of had a John Brown kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
John
definitely.
Brown,
Yeah, he was a radical.
And he
sure.
was a little person. Think about that. I mean, physically, how what an idea.
Yeah.
Somebody that people might not really pay attention to is like challenging them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing with this.
Yeah, so I wrote a play about his life, and then I said, I want this to be a full-length play. And I found out right after that Marcus Rediker, the biographer, he wrote a full-length play with a fantastic playwright named Naomi Wallace. And I thought, well, I don't want to step on their toes. And I have this other issue that I think I could intertwine, a modern-day issue, with Lay's story. So I started exploring that possibility, and I got excited and thought, yeah, I think I can do this. So the modern day story is two history teachers at a high school outside of Philadelphia start sort of exploring changes in their curriculum, sort of to kind of increase education around lesser known historical figures, around slavery, around racism.
Right.
And right at that same time, this anti-critical race theory legislation passes in Pennsylvania, and that's sort of communicated to them from on high. And so they have to figure out what to do with that. And I wanted to write about this because it's something that's happening in several states right now. We have a number of crises that teachers are already facing, and now this is yet another that's increasing stress levels, creating these guardrails that are not even clearly set. So I think teachers struggle with knowing what's okay or not okay, and it's upsetting, it's frightening. And so I wanted to depict what teachers might be going through in encountering that in their workplace. And I thought that Lay could be sort of a figure of inspiration for these modern day characters.
That's pretty inspired because people are confronting that today. I mean, Mark Twain is still being banned. I mean, earlier in September is Banned Books Week all over the country.
Yeah.
And there are still people pulling books out all the time. So it's a challenge to free speech and free exchange of ideas. But, putting it in a theatrical mode, for some people, they'll work with ideas that they're not comfortable directly talking about. This is what the power of certain theater, right?
Yeah.
Things will come up, and maybe after the event you talk about it, and maybe beforehand you weren't comfortable. It could be race, class, all the great theater.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Pennsylvania is where this is occurring, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. I wanted there to be a kind of through line between Lay and these teachers, so I thought, well, let's have them be in the place where he was living.
Yeah. So anyway, in case you're listening to us on radio, we're speaking with the writer Sarah Moon today. She is at the Eastern Connecticut Center for History, Art, and Performance. And just want to mention two websites. Thepackinghouse.us is one venue with lots of live music. It's part of this whole mill complex. But there's the actual center, which is ecchap.org, www.ec-chap.org. And that's where Sarah is very involved. Can you talk about the things that are there for people to get closer to your work and the artists that you're working with all year?
Yeah. So we have a gallery that is open on Saturdays from 10 to 12. We'd love to extend those hours, but that's what we are offering right now. And it's open most weeks of the year. We have a couple, dark weeks between shows. Shows run for 8 weeks. And our current show that's going to be closing on Saturday, so that's the last chance to see it, is Nicole Isabel. She's a New York City-based artist who is actually a longtime friend of mine. And she creates these awesome paintings called magic leaf paintings. And we actually did a workshop where people came and got to create their own. But the color is stunning, and they actually use prints of real leaves. And then watercolor. So the next show is going to be by a photographer named Greg Soman, and he's based in Holyoke, Mass. It's called Midnights. And all of the photos are around the theme of, you know, what happens when most people are sleeping.
Ooh.
So they're all dark. It's kind of good
That's
for the
loaded.
fall. It's
That's
like moody
loaded,
and
yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's going to open when? Is that going to open?
That's going to open October 6th.
Okay.
And for our opening events, we have wine, we have refreshments, the artist is there. So they're really fun events. And then, like I said, Saturday mornings are the viewing hours. So in addition to that, there's the Gardner Hall Museum, which tells a little bit about what was happening on site at the mill historically, and the thread dyeing operation that's centered there. And they have programming too. They do some history-based talks and such throughout the year.
I know Tom Buccino got a grant to help with some of the physical plan, the construction, the walls, to really build up the structure of the building itself. So it's really coming to take shape.
Yeah, it is. The gallery's looking really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long does the October exhibit with Greg go for?
That is going to go through November 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have you back as things happen in early November. We'll see what's happening with they have the poetry readings once a month on different nights. They have those. So thanks for coming by. I wish you good luck with all your work.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to see you.
So this has been Sarah Moon, artist in residence at EC Chap. Yes.
I was just going to mention, I'm
Please
teaching a playwriting workshop in Coventry through the Coventry Arts Guild.
Oh, you should mention that.
Yeah, it's going to start October 11th. So if anybody is interested, this is for people of all levels. You could never have written a play in your life, or you could have written plays way back and you want to get back into it. But it'll be a 6-week program, and it'll culminate in a reading of our works in progress.
Wow, and that's through the Coventry Arts Guild?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I had Richard White on last week talking about some of their
Okay.
stuff. I think he mentioned your project.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, good.
Well, great to see
All
you
right,
again.
good to see you. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us this week on the Homefront. If you want to get involved, you're always welcome. Use the email john@humanartsmedia.com, and we'll see you next week.